Hi, Julie here with Just Plain Fun, and I'm here today to show you how to make the easy shopping bag. And this bag, it's actually quite easy to make. It is made with 1 yard of fabric, and let me show you what it does. It's all folded up into its own little pouch. See right here, and this is what it is. You open it up, turn this part inside out. And basically it's a shopping bag that has gussets down here, just like those plastic shopping bags that you get when you go to those big box stores. And they're being outlawed or banned in some states like Maine, and I think there's 8 states that ban them now. But basically this is what I'm going to show you how to make. It's made with 100% cotton. Of course you can use poly cotton? Yeah, poly cotton. To make these as well, and I used whatever thread I had. This happened to be white, but I'm going to be using polyester, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make this. So first off, let me introduce you to, oh yeah, and the way you put this away. You put it down in front of you like this. You fold up one side to where the pocket edge is. You fold this side to where the pocket edge is. Then you bring this up, and then you bring this up to about halfway to where the pocket would be, which is right there. And then you're going to fold it up this way, and then you're going to take the inside of the pocket out, and you're going to turn it inside out. And then you're going to stick your hands in there. It does take a little bit of fiddling, but you know what? It's a great space saver. If you're inundated with bags, you know, these fabric bags, when you fold them up like this, you can toss them into another tote bag or a purse or something. And, you know, see how big they are? Not that big. And they're a little bigger than my hand when it's closed up like this. So, let's get started. And first off, you're going to need to pick out your fabrics. I have 2 right here. This I'm going to use for the lining on the inside. And don't ask me who made these fabrics. It's not about the fabrics, it's about the bag. And I get whatever fabrics I like. And this is the outside apples, you know, shopping. So I thought that would work. So this fabric needs to be trimmed up a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and do what I need to trim. This one's fine, but this one, it's got all this fraying edge, and it is slightly more than 19 inches wide. I'm going to show you the instructions. Hold on just a second. Got the instructions here. These are available now at my website at jpfun.com. Just look for Easy Shopping Bag. And the ID number of the pattern is F as in Frank for free at 404001, and so that's F404001. Okay, and you're also going to need a rotary cutter, the free template which is provided in this set of instructions. It'll be on the very last page right here, and then on the 7th page, there's a total of 8 pages. The 7th page has a place where you can write down notes, ideas, you know, whatever you want to write down. And then this is the instructions on how to fold them, just like I showed you. And then here is the materials you're going to need. You're going to need, of course, you can use 4 fat quarters, but you'll have to make a seam at the top, and I'll show you that in a minute. And I'm using 2 half-cut pieces, half-yard pieces. And you're going to need polyester or cotton thread to match your fabrics. So I'm using this. This is old stuff that I've had for over 20 years. I'm just going to use it up. It's a bag. It's polyester. It'll be fine. Not using anything new. I got this on sale actually just recently, and it happens to be a perfect match to this stuff that was really, really old. It's kind of a perfect match. So I'm going to finish this one up, and then I'll go to this one. This only cost me $1. For $1, I paid 25 cents for it. we have this place called Barden's here in Maine. They're all over the place. My nearest ones, there's two of them that are somewhat close, an hour and a half away, 76 miles. Really nuts. But anyway, it's a fantastic place to buy fabrics. These fabrics here came from a dear friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago, and earlier this summer, 2021 in June, I went over to their yard sale and they were selling off her craft supplies, her fabrics, and she had totes and totes and totes, probably 50 or so in all. I bought 11 of them, and they were the big totes, 55-gallon totes. They were big. No, maybe not that big. Anyway, but they were big, and it ended up being like 1,000 yards. A lot of fabric. Anyway, it took me 2 months to fold it all and put it up on my shelves. Okay, so these instructions, I've already went over, you know, 2 fabrics, one for the lining, one for the outside. Of course, you can use, you know, the same fabric for the inside and out if you want to. You'll just need a yard of it. Okay, and this is what I do to mark my templates, but first off, I'm going to trim this because it's got this messy end over here. And this weight is heavy. Okay, pull out my ruler here. Alright, and I pretty much know where my 19 inches is on this. I'm making it 19 inches actually, but even though you only need it to be 18 by 44 total, I cut it to 19 so that I know that I have enough. Okay, then I put the weight on. The reason why I put the weight on is because I've hurt this hand before without it, because I also make paper beads and cutting the paper with the rotary cutter. Believe me, this is a brand new blade, just put in a few minutes ago. Okay, done. And I'm not going to bother with the other side because I know that's fine. And now I have to fold this in half because, you know, this is the selvage edge. It's the way you want it to be folded. And because I know that I'm going to try to line it up with this line right here and flip it over so that... Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this apple fabric and lay that out. Now I laid this down in front of me so that it's got that little bit here. So I know this should read at 18 or, you know, half of the width that I need. So I'm going to lay this down. This is already folded in half, and I already know that it's 19 inches. And I'm going to make sure that the folds are all together. You want to make sure that you line up your top and bottom folds. Let's turn that around. In fact, since I want to be able to really see what I'm marking, I'm going to have this light green side up, even though this is my lining. Make sure everything's really lined up really carefully. In the instructions I said to do one side at a time, but you could do it this way. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, well, this will be fine. My scissors are good. I generally cut this with my scissors. And I forgot to bring my scissors over here. So we'll just mark it. And I'm going to get this ruler out of my way, put it over here, because I don't really, well, let's put it back here. Actually, we'll put it back here. And we're going to get my template. So you're going to put this side on your fold, and you're going to put this side on your fold. And I've got this upside down. So flip this over. Okay, so this is the way it's got to be. You put this fold up here, you put this fold down here, and yes, I'm going to have to mark on my apples because I'm not going to do this again. Okay, so I have these weights that I've been using. They work really, really well. And these are 3.5-inch gigantic stainless steel washers. Again, I got these at Martin's. I don't know where else you'd be able to find them. Probably a Tractor Supply type of store. Okay. And eventually, you know, in the future, I'm going to be making pin cushions with these, so that they're heavy weighted pin cushions, so that when you put your pin cushion here, it'll hold it down. So I'm just going to use these to hold these down and mark here and here and here. And then this ruler is going to be used. Let me pull this down a little bit more. Okay. And then this ruler can be put here. And you want to make sure that you're 9 inches from the fold to here before you cut that part. But for now, I'm just going to mark this section here and this section here and this line here. And what I'm using to mark these, believe it or not, is one of these. And yeah, it happens to be green. But what it is, it's a washable, ultra clean washable Crayola marker for kids. And it's meant to wash out in your wash. And I actually use these to mark my quilts. You know, quilts and quilting lines, because it comes out in the wash. So, and I always wash my quilts after I'm done making them. And the marks disappear. I also use those friction pens as well, and those disappear. Never had a problem with them coming back, even when they were cold. Never had a problem with it. So here I am, I'm marking it. Simple as that. I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way. And then what I'm going to do, one way to make sure that you're going to have the right distance apart is you can slide this down to here. Put one of the weights on, maybe 2 of them, just to be sure. So that way it's equidistant. You're going to mark it down here. Now, I did not do that in the instructions. I didn't explain that. And I'm not sure why, but I just thought of the idea just now. And then I'm going to bring this up a little bit more and make another line. A little bit more. Yeah, I could do this with my ruler for the rest of it. That way it'll be really straight. Line up my ruler here to here. There. So I'll cut this section out with my scissors. And I'll cut this out with my rotary cutter, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my scissors, and I am going to go ahead and cut out along the lines here. It's going to take me just a minute. Okay, and you're going to keep this part, this fabric here. This is for the pocket, for folding in. In fact, the pocket on the orange one is not quite exactly where I need it to be. I want it to be a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, so I'm going to end up using both of these in the video. Okay, now I'm going to cut this one. Alright, it's going to take me just another moment. Okay. And then this is scrap that you can use for another project. Okay, now I'm going to prepare to cut this line that I marked. And I'm going to double check my measurement before I do that. I think we're good. Okay, let's pull up my ruler here. And I'm going to double check that we're 9 inches. And the line is 9 inches. So that's good right here. Okay, so I'm going to line that up. And I need more room than that for cutting. Okay, you can't see the end of it, but I needed to be able to go beyond with my rotary cutter. Okay, so I'm on the line. I'm going to put my weight down. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And I got that. That's done. Okay. So, what you're going to do at this point, and pull up the instructions. You've got your pieces. Now you've got them cut. Normally in the instructions I said to do one and then layer it on top, but I decided to get brave and do both at the same time. This is the next step, making the bag's neck. And so I have to go to the ironing. Well, actually, I can prepare that right now because you're gonna have to pin it all. So let me get this because of the super glare. See that glare? That's awful. Anyway, so you're gonna need to keep these pieces for the pocket, and I'll show you how to deal with that later. Okay, so what you're gonna do here is you're going to open these up and lay them down. Put one down, wrong side down. And then you're going to put this one on top of it. Right sides together, basically. Open it up. Right sides together. And you're going to be sewing, after it's all pinned, you're going to sew around the neck. And I like to start lining them up in the corners like this. So that way I know it's going to line up correctly. And you're not going to actually see me sew, but I'm going to be starting on this side and doing 1/4 inch seam allowance. My sewing machine is actually in another room. Alright, so basically this is what you do. You get all this together, you pin it all the way around, and you go take it to the sewing machine and do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So the next time you so let me go ahead and do all that, and I'll be right back so you don't have to sit here and watch me pin all this around and waste your time. So bear with me. Okay, so I have it all pinned in place and ready to go to the sewing machine. Okay. Okay, so I'm back here at my pressing station, and I'm going to show you what the next step is after sewing. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the lining, gather it all up. Actually, first thing you want to do is you need to set your seam. Do that. And then you're going to gather up all this fabric. You're going to pass it through. I think I'm going to work on the other side. That's just easier to see. spread it all out. It's flat. And this is going to take a minute, you know, to do. And I don't have this iron here that I'm using is not a steam iron, it's just a dry iron. So I use water to prepare my, you know, to provide the steam. Okay, it was very important to cut those corners to see how nice and flat they fall. Okay, so I'm going to reach in and I'm going to massage the seams a little bit just to make sure that I have them all where they need to be. In fact, you can actually, the way I did it before is I pressed my seams down this way first. Get a little wet. And that way, this seam will stay fallen. And then just pull this one back. Get this one a little damp. And then you turn on the sound. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, now I've turned it inside out and now I am pressing. So this time you can hear me. I'm just going to keep going. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing here. And I want this to seem to go this way. I'm going to steam it a little bit. And again, it's still a little damp, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish that one off. Okay, you're going to do the same thing with this seam. Making sure that that seam is going outward, like that. Then I'll repeat for this side. Okay, then the next step is you're going to top stitch all the way around. And this time I'm going to stitch on the other side because it's just a little bit easier to do. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it. I'm not going to show you on the sewing machine. You understand how to do top stitching, I'm sure. You're just going 1/8 of an inch in from the edge. And the stitch length I've been using is 2.5 or 2.0. I didn't even look at my machine. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gotten this stitched, but I also wanted to show you, we're at this part here, working on the neck here. So let's get this flipped out. I've already ironed it. But basically you turn it inside out by throwing everything through the center here. Okay, and I'll put a clip in to show you how I ironed this, simply because I recorded it, but the sound was awful. So when I go in to edit it, if I don't like the sound, I'm going to voice over. But I'll show you how I ironed this. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to top stitch around 1/8 of an inch in, and I'm not going to show you the video on that. There's no need to. Just do an 1/8 inch stitch all the way around. Okay, I have gotten the top stitching done right here, and the next step is to do the burrito roll. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to roll it up just like this. And the idea here is you're going to be sewing up the sides. Roll this all the way up like this. Okay, then you hang on to this one. And you're going to bring this section back in front of you. And you're going to pin these together. And I usually like to start in you know, here in the corners, those inner corners. And I really like to pin these. Just makes it easier to stitch. And when you do this, you're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to clip the corners and trim the inner, you know, clip the corners on the outside and on the inside of the corners. Takes me just a few minutes to do this, and you don't have to put the pins that close together. I don't know why I'm putting them so close together. And don't worry if it doesn't go all the way down, because you're going to be trimming the bottom anyway to the correct size. See, as long as you have it lined up here on the top, you're good. You can always trim the bottom. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish pinning this up, and I will show you what to do next in just a moment. Let me grab this back here. Pull this forward. Oh, I might as well get this one started on camera. I'll pin the whole thing. I'm just going to fast forward. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take it to the sewing machine and do the 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so hey, I am back at my iron here, and yeah, my head's going to get cut off, but I want you to see this is what you actually want to see. So I'm back at my ironing station, and I've gotten this stitched here, so I'm just going to go ahead and snip my inside corners really close to the stitching. And I did do the 1/4 inch seam allowance, and my stitch length is actually at 2. And this time I remembered to turn on the sound. So now I'm going to clip the corners. Okay, so that's done. And I'm going to set the seams. You know what? It might help if I plug in the iron. Take about 30 seconds, if not that, to heat it up. So bear with me one moment. Yeah, almost clipped my threads. Almost. Anyway. Alright. Waiting for my iron. When this little light goes off, it's hot. And it's really, really fast. Well, it usually is. You know what? It takes forever when you're waiting for it. Come on. Any moment. Okay, so what have you been doing? Okay, come on. There we go. It's hot. So I set my seams. And one thing, you know, like I pressed the neck a while ago, I was able to pull some of the seams back and iron them and press them to make it easier to turn them inside out. But when you're doing this, it's a little bit harder. So what I do is I open up the seam just to get things started. And this is kind of hard to do actually. But you press open the seam and you can get it wet. That actually helps get it started. You can open up the seam like this, and believe it or not, this actually helps in turning it inside out because you've already got it started. It may take some extra effort, but it works. I know it may seem like a pain in the butt, but it's harder to roll your seams to open them up on the inside to really get a clean, crisp thing going. So let's get this side going here. Okay. Has a mind of its own. I want more water over here. Okay. Gonna take me a minute, come on. Sometimes the fabric doesn't want to cooperate. Alright, so if you have any questions for me, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Maybe perhaps I will actually do a Q&A video in the future. Like, for those of you who follow me, this is kind of not the normal video that I do. I'm usually doing paper beads. And, well, I'm shifting gears in my life. I'm not really making paper beads anymore, except for the ones I have to for the adjustable length bead rollers that I make and sell. I'm getting into sewing and quilting, and let me explain why. I've been sewing and quilting most of my life. I took 20 years off to design crochet patterns and sell paper beads and make paper bead rollers and stuff like that. And in 2018, I started sewing again in October of 2018, and I missed it so much that I decided, you know, it's time for me to get back into it. I still had a sewing machine, that had been sitting there collecting dust. I mean, I've known how to sew by machine since the age of 11, back in 1978. And I've known how to sew by hand starting at 7 years old, back in 1973, I think it was. So I've been sewing most of my life. I made my own clothes when I was a teenager. I made a couple of quilts over 20 years ago. One was a baby quilt and the other one was just a quilt top. And you know, I had a hard time getting them quilted. So I've come up with a way of making it a little easier on a domestic sewing machine. It's like Quilt As You Go, but it goes a step further. And in future videos I do plan on talking about that. But for now, we're just working on these bags. So I have many years of experience of sewing. Something I really, really, really do know how to do. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm definitely advanced when it comes to sewing. Alright, so now I'm going to turn this inside out, and this really, it blows my mind every time I do it. Okay, you just pull this out, and you keep pulling. Basically, I'm pulling on the inside piece that's in here. It's coming. There it is. Alright, come on, cooperate. Well, it worked yesterday. There we go. Okay. And that did not work. Oh yes it did. Alright. Almost there. I promise you this works. There we go. Okie dokie. There we go. Turned inside out. Usually it goes smoother than that. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Alright, and because we prepped the seam, it's going to be easier to turn inside out. Oh, that worked out just fine. Okay. After all that stuff that I said that I'm not an expert, but I do know what I'm doing, well, you know, I've only made a couple of these before this. In fact, I want to show you the one. Oh, it's in the office. I'll get it later. I made one before this one using crumbs. I pieced crumbs together, a lot of crumbs together, and I made one of these bags out of the crumbed pieces, but I didn't put the pocket on it. So because it's, you know, the crumbs made it too bulky. Alright, let's get this wet. Stop it, stop it. Okay, so if you want one of these, there's going to be a link on my website that you can use. It will be an affiliate link that you can use to go to Amazon and go get one. I love those bottles. They work really, really well for a water bottle because it's a mist. It's not a spray. It's pretty cool. Alright. In fact, I'm going to be adding affiliate links to a lot of the tools that I make, or that a lot of the tools that I use in making quilts and doing sewing projects. So that way it'll be easy for you to find the stuff that I use if you want it for yourself. Boy, do I have future plans, not just bags, but also quilt blocks with that special neck technique that I'm developing. And I might actually do quilt patterns, but these quilt blocks, they can be adapted to quilt as you go. Because ultimately, if you do quilt as you go, there are many ways you can join your blocks together, and you know, it's going to be the videos will be about the blocks, not about the quilts. And I'll show you what quilts that I put them in, but they will be standalone block videos. And I'm hoping to do a block a month, a block a week. It depends on how much time I have. It might not even be a regular thing, but it will be something that I will be doing in the future, because I can't wait to show you. In fact, I have a block happened to be sitting right here next to me. I can show you what I mean. This is a square and a square block, but the neat thing about this block, it's the square and the square on the back side too. And I didn't actually make two square and a square blocks and put them together back to back. I actually, each piece of the block that you see is also a separate piece of batting. So I'll show you how I do that. I forgot that I actually had this sitting here. Really, believe me. But cool. I mean, this is what I'm going to be teaching in the future, is how to make blocks like this using leftover scraps of batting. That's the point, using batting, and having a reversible quilt that's the same pattern on the back as on the front with just different fabrics. And what a great way to get rid of or to use scraps that you have. And I've even got some crumb quilts in this, crumb quilted blocks made in the same way with tiny pieces, and they were completely done with scraps of batting as well as my crumbs of fabric that I have. And yeah, I have a whole bunch of crumbs. So that's what's coming in the future. And let's get on to the bag here. Okay, so the next step with this is you're going to repeat the same thing with the other side. And then once you've done that, you're going to go in and top stitch this here on both sides. So there's really no reason to do that right now. We're going to do the burrito roll again. And I don't have a thing of pins here. But this is how you do the burrito roll when you have plenty of room to do it. Okay, then you take... Oh, I forgot to turn it over. Okay, turn this around. You're going to take this finished side and you're going to roll it up. Burrito roll. Okay, roll your boat. Yeah, roll your strip. Okay, I'm being silly, I know, and I'm leaving this stupid stuff in, okay? I'm trying to be a little bit more funny, which is not very easy for me. Okay. Grab a hold of this and flip it to the front. Flip it. Okay, make that thing peek at you. Okay. All right. Alright, I am going to go get my pin cushion that I have in here. I've got one right here. For those of you who follow my crocheting, this pattern's available on my website for this pin cushion. This is a tuna fish can. It's on the website. I can't remember if it's a free pattern or not, but go ahead and take a peek. Go take a look. If it's not free, if you're not already a member at jpfun.com, it's free to sign up for if you want to. It works on the point system. If you don't want to bother with the point system, you can go ahead and pay to be a member. It's $95 total. That's it, forever. One payment or 12 monthly payments of $8.95. And then once those 12 monthly payments are done, you don't have to pay another penny. Otherwise, the patterns are $1.99 each, no matter what pattern I'm selling. In fact, future sewing patterns will be $1.99 each in the future, no matter how involved and how complicated it is. And membership, $95 forever, or $8.95 for 12 monthly payments. So that's, you know, if you want access to all of my patterns. I've got 951 patterns that are crochet related on the site. I have I've got about 400, maybe more, paper bead sheets that you can print out and cut up and roll into paper beads on the site. Most of them are not free. Again, $1.99 per whichever one you decide to get that you pay for. Or if you become a registered member, you can redeem points to get the files and to get the PDF files. And those are 20,000 points. And I am pretty generous with the points. You can earn points from browsing the website, as well as participating. You know, every day I do have a daily newsletter, a daily update, and for visiting that, you can get points for that too. It's 1,000 points a day just for visiting the newsletter and getting the secret phrase of the day. But you got to go to the newsletter to get the phrase. But and that's at jpfun.com, which stands for Just Plain Fun, for those of you who don't follow me already. But I've just started adding sewing patterns to the site. In fact, this particular pattern is available on the site right now, and it's free. Because this bag pattern is not technically my idea. That's why I'm giving it away. Just the pattern is, you know, I wrote the pattern, and I designed the template to work with fat quarters, even though I'm using half yard cuts. It still works. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sew this and be right back. And I have stitched this, and I've already pressed it so that seam is halfway open, or you know, it's open so that's easier to turn inside out and have it lay flat. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do this turning inside out again on camera. So here we go. Yes, basically the trick is just to hold on to it and pull and pull. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to work. Okay, so that part, I've pressed this one. Now I'm going to press this side. And that work of turning that inside out should have made a difference. Right, I gotta poke those corners out. So the video that I got inspiration from on this was a video that was probably made in China, Japan, I'm not sure. I don't know. It could have been even Hindi. I do not know. But she made one that didn't have this little jog on the outside, but it did have the pocket. And her video did not have any words, and the measurements were a little bit off, the calculations from metric to standard or imperial. That's why I went ahead and I'm doing this pattern and putting it all in English. If I can find the video, I will provide a link in the description so that you can go see where my inspiration came from. Because I'm not taking 100% credit for this, and that's why the pattern is free. Because this is not my 100% design. It's my innovation, but not my 100% design. I have to be truthful about that. I can't take 100% of the credit. I was looking for something that happened to be mimicking those plastic bags, and I do have one here somewhere, but not easily. Actually, hang on. it's based on these bags, the kind that you get at grocery stores. They're being banned in Maine now, along with quite a few other states, probably 8 of them. But see, I wanted it to mimic this gusset thing here, and with this fold in. So I'll show you how to do that, and it's explained pretty well in the instructions. But right now, that's why I'm doing it this way, because of the way it's actually going to be stitched together. Okay, so that's been pressed. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. And as long as, I'm going to get this wet, maybe that'll make it behave a little better. Okay, that's better. All right, so that's, I wanted a bag that looked like that, and then I found the one that had, that it folds into a pocket, and so I watched that one like 2 or 3 times to really learn how she did it. But I made some modifications just to make it, the way I wanted it to really be. And by adding this jog, following because when you cut this apart, this part comes out. And I also made the handles a little narrower. They don't need to be this wide. I mean, really, they don't. Okay, so let's press this in. Make it wet. Okay. It's going to take me, come on. It's going to take me another moment here. There we go. Okay, so the next step in the instructions is you're supposed to stitch here to top stitch and stitch over here to top stitch. So I am going to do that next, and I'll be right back. I'm back, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what I was talking about with regards to cutting this and stuff, and I realize I need a couple more clips. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some on here, just to help me keep things lined up. And I'm putting them up here because I'm going to be putting the ruler on. And the ruler and the clips will get in the way from being able to use my ruler. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here for now. I'm going to turn this around. Okay, and I'm going to line this bottom edge up with the bottom of this cutting mat. Pull this back out so I have room for the ruler. And I'm going to trim it now before I put the pocket on. Okay, I have it straight here. It looks pretty straight there. Put my ruler on, and I'm going to cut it. I'm pretty sure, yeah, if I cut just the selvage off, I'll lose maybe a ½ inch, which I'm okay with. And again, I'm going to use a weight. I have actually 2 of these weights because I really like them. All right. So I'm going to cut off the selvage, and then I'm going to take this top piece, and this is what I'm going to put the pocket on. See, I top stitched the pocket. It's ready to go. Okay, rotary cutter. Grab that. Push this up against my wall so that helps it keep its place, so I can push on it if I want. Okay. We're good. I'm lined up. Oh yeah, I forget. This is a brand new blade. It just cuts so easy. I didn't need to press down hard. Good grief. Okay, so that's done. Set that aside. Set that aside. And I'm going to mark the middle of this thing the same way I did with the other thing. And I'm going to fold it in half. Just like this. And take a smaller snip. Just because I want to do a smaller snip. There. I made a tiny snip. Okay, yeah, I know. People who follow me, I don't usually act this nuts. But you know what? Maybe I should start. People who really know me, sometimes I can be a little loopy. And no, I don't take anything. I don't smoke, I don't drink. Seriously, I don't. Haven't had a drink since 2009, and then I only had one, and it was a margarita. It was really good too. But no, it wasn't a margarita, it was a strawberry daiquiri. I'm allergic to oranges. So, another little tiny tidbit. Something you didn't know. Actually, I'm a walking allergy. I got a lot of allergies. Asthma, the whole bit, you know. Okay, so there's my center mark. I'm going to pull this up here more. And I'm going to do the glue trick because here's my glue. My Elmer's glue. Okay, line this up to my little doohickey thing that I got right down here. Alright. You know why I'm being so loopy and so weird? It's after 8 o'clock. Instead of watching TV, I'm sewing and doing a video. Okay, I need my iron. Good, it's hot, it's plugged in. Alright, time to do the glue. Alright, so pull this back, like I said. And this is in the instructions. Whoop, middle finger shouldn't be there. Okay. Alright. Now, flip that over. Press it down a little bit. And apply the heat. And the pressure. It's a heavy iron, you know. Well, maybe that's why they called them irons. Because old-fashioned irons were heavy. In fact, the irons in the old days, when they sit on the wood stoves, they were interchangeable with different sizes depending on what you're going to be ironing. The different weights of fabric and stuff like that. That's about all I know about those. I mean, how did they probably didn't deal with synthetic materials much because, you know, that was before electricity. Yeah. I don't know. Makes me sound smart, huh? Okay. Alright, so my feeble attempt at trying to be funny. Okay. Press that. And if you're really unsure of your gluing technique, go ahead and pin. I don't care. You can do what you want. But believe it or not, that'll stay. I love Elmer's glue. And it will wash out. I mean, this is cool. Look at that. It won't fall off. It's there to stay. Unless I take it off and rip it off. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to go stitch this. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm done top stitching this section here. And the next step is to go ahead and get started. Well, let's pull up the instructions. Take a look. See, we did this part and we did this part. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, we will be adding the pocket next, but I also want to make sure that we do this. But I'm going to go ahead and add the pocket next because that's what's in the instructions. Now, what I did before is I took one piece, and in this case it would have been this one because the outside, and this is the same fabric, it's just that the lighting on the camera was not right, but it is this. So, and this is glue. I used glue, but I'll explain that. Okay, so normally what I would have done, oh come on, open up, open up, open up. So I would have taken this whole piece, turned it inside out, folded it the other way like this, pressed it and stitched down the sides, and then put it onto the bottom center of the bag. But this ended up not being big enough, and so I do want it to be more square. So I want this to be just as long, you know, I want it to be this width and this high. So in order to be able to achieve that, I'm going to be using both of these fabrics and just cut a square out of it. And then the scrap can be, you know, put into your scraps, your crumbs. There's not much waste to this. So I'm going to go to the iron, and get this set up, measure this. Let's see how wide this is. I have a ruler here somewhere. Okay. Okay, this is 7.5 or thereabouts. And to me, that's close enough. So I'm going to make it, I'm going to give myself, even though it's 1/8 of an inch under 7.5, I'm going to do 7.5. It's just easier that way. So I'm going to make this a square, and you know, with seams. Yeah, I'll just cut this in, so make it 7.5 by 7.5. In fact, I might edit the pocket section to reflect what I'm doing here in the video, because I can do that, you know. So it'll be a 7.5 square, 7.5 inch square. So go ahead and we'll do that next. And what you're going to do then at that point is you're just going to go ahead, and since it's going to be 7.5 by 7.5 instead of whatever this was, which is 5 1/4, 7.5 will give me an extra 2 inches. What you're going to do is, once you trim this up on the bottom to make it even, you're going to actually put the bottom edge of your square, once it's stitched and turned inside out, you're going to put the raw edge down on the raw edge of the bottom of the thing. So let's get my square. I think I can cut my square out right now, so that way you can see me doing it on camera. Whoopee! All right, and then I'll press it, because I don't have an iron right here handy with me. All right, come on. Yeah, I really should press it first. All right, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to press it and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm going to show you how I went ahead and did the square for this. See, here's the fabric. Now I just need to press it. In fact, I want to be able to see what I'm doing. All right, let's get these even. There we go. Not that it matters, because I'm going to be cutting it into a square. Okay, and since I want it 7.5 and I want this to be done as fast as possible, I've got these special squares here that they're grippy on one side, and it says 7.5 on this side. You can't really see it. These are from martellinotions.com. They don't sponsor me. I just really like using them. And since this is 7.5 or just about, I'm going to go ahead and use it. And the neat thing about this is the fabric stays with you, and you don't need a rotating cutting mat, which I actually do have. So very easy to use. It's just that easy. Okay, another bit of scraps for your crumbs. Way cool. All right. I'll put those away later. Okay, so here's my square, and I'm going to leave this side undone, so I'm going to mark that. It's not going to show up, it's just pencil. That's the side I'm leaving open. So the next step here is I'm not going to use pins, because I really want these to stay together. So what I like to do is I like to use glue. And I like to baste with glue, but this is not glue basted. It's not Roxanne's. I just filled this up with this stuff. Elmer's school glue. Yeah, right there. It absolutely will wash out. Absolutely. 100%. So that's what's in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this back. And I absolutely want this to stay together, and I don't want pins to have to remove. So I'm just going to apply glue, somewhat small dots, every couple of inches, every inch, a little bit more than you would use for pins. And this is the cheapest way of, you know, getting this type of glue for this type of purpose, is the Elmer's washable school glue. It absolutely works. Then I just fold it over and press. I usually count 6 to 10. And I have a clock in here that ticks, and I usually count that. Okay, so that one's done. And now I'm going to do this section here. Just carefully pull this back. And do another bit of glue. And I'm going to do this one over here. And you probably think I'm using too much glue. Perhaps I am, but you know what? It works. Okay, put those back and press. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That should do it. And then I'm just going to stitch here, here, and here, clip these corners, and I'll be right back. And I'm going to go ahead and press this to set the seam. I haven't clipped the corners or anything. Grab these snips, cut the corners, all right, and I'm going to try to do what I did earlier, wet these seams a little bit to get the folding process started. I'm going to do the top one first. Not that easy to do, especially since I glued the seams. Never mind, I glued the seams. They can pop apart, but I'm not going to bother anyway. Okay, now I'm going to turn it inside out and go into the corner and work on poking it out. And be ever so gentle with the scissors and just poke. There. Do the same thing with the other side. Basically, you can use whatever you want for a poking tool, as long as you're gentle with it. Okay, by gluing down the seam, that also seemed to help with the turning of it, because you have something a little bit more substantial to actually work with. It's got a little bit more body because of the glue. I forgot about that. It's been a little bit of a while since I actually used glue. So I'll just remember to use glue from now on. Okay. Now, let's put my hand up in there and just push that out a little bit. Okay, so the next thing that you do with the pocket is you're going to fold it in half, and I'm going to have this side up because I'm putting it on the apples. So you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to mark the bottom center. And since this is not going to show, make your crease really, really well. And you can actually do a teeny tiny snip that would be in the seam allowance because it's not going to show. And there's the center part right there. See it better there. See if it's marked. And because you're doing a French seam, you're actually going to lose about a ½ an inch. So it's okay to snip that. Okay, so I'm going to go over back to my desk and show you how to, apply this to your bag. So bear with me one moment. Okay, so here is the pocket ready to be stitched on. The only thing I need to do is do a top stitching here first before I actually apply it to the bag. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to do because I'm going to take you back over to the ironing board and we're going to do it from there. Okay, you're going to fold this in half. Not that it actually at this point doesn't matter. you're going to decide which side you're going to put your pocket on, and it doesn't really matter which side. And you're going to trim your bottom up first to make sure that it's even and ready to go. You're going to do the same thing with both sides, but you're going to make sure that they are the same length. So you're going to measure. You're going to put, actually it might be a good idea just to go ahead and pin these together or clip them together, just so that they're lined up for when you're trimming the bottom. So just clip them here, so that way they are where they need to be. Because we'll deal with this later. This is just to get the length of your bag correct. I'm going to do that with this side too. Because in the instructions it says to put the bag or the pocket at 1/4 inch above. Well, I'm going to have you trim the bottom first. I'll make the correction in the instructions. All right, so that basically, yeah, you shake it out, and you're going to cut off some of the bottom of this. You can just trim off the selvages, basically, is what you're going to do. And, you know, you can make it as long as you want, deep as you want, but I would try to cut off as little bit as you can, but making sure that it's even, of course. And I would do that with my long ruler, rotary cutter, and line up the lines with your ruler wherever you decide to cut it off. And yeah, okay, pull that up. Okay, so I would line up the line with one of the edges, make sure that it's straight and even. The other side doesn't matter, but as long as this is straight, you'll get a straight line. And as long as you line up your edges with a line on your ruler that's on your cutting mat, and then you should get an accurate straight line on the bottom when you cut off your selvages. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold this, you know, fold the one in half that you're going to be using for your pocket. Do the same clip trick, and then line up your clip. And you're going to use the glue base again. You're going to fold this back. You're going to apply the glue here and iron it down. Flip this back, apply the glue here, and put this back, iron it down, take it to the machine and sew it. But right now I'm going to go ahead and do the top stitching on the pocket itself. Okay, so I am back, and we're going to be working on the gussets next, but I want to take a moment and show you something. I made this bag before I made that one, of course, before I made the orange one, before I made this one. And this one is a gift for a family member. I'm not going to say who the family member is, just in case they watch this video. But this one has boxed corners on the bottom. It's a little bit different from what we're going to be doing today. And it's boxed on the outside and boxed on the inside. And these are all made with crumbs. What I did is I made 6-inch square crumb blocks, and I made sure that all the crumbs were straight. I did a lot of trimming. Some of them have little triangles added to them. Those were fair game, and they range from, you know, 1/2 inch all the way up to a couple of inches. And, you know, this, the inside is solid fabric, but the outside is crumb quilting. And I love crumb quilting. It's really fun. I mean, see, this one, this was not, this was triangles. I just, you know, made this piece. I just added a triangle to it to square it off, and then I cut it up. But all these fabrics, I think the person who gets them might recognize a handful of them. Maybe not, but, you know, she was a sewer. She was the one that, oh, if I go into detail, she might figure out. Anyway, so this is going to a family member for Christmas, and I hope she likes it. Yeah, it's a she. The person is a she. There are some new fabrics in here. There's some old fabrics in here. Some this person might recognize, like this one, and this one, and this one. Maybe not that, but yeah, some of these fabrics go back 30 or 40 years. Like I said, I've been sewing for a long time, and some of the fabrics that I have were given to me by my aunt. Like this piece here, she gave me a piece of this fabric here, and a bigger piece, but I used it in another project. And some of this was for my grandson's quilt that I made for him last year, before he was born. He'll be 2 in about a week. Actually, what day is today? The date I'm recording this is the 12th, and his birthday is on the 15th, so he'll be 2. And I made him a quilt, and maybe I'll inject a picture in here somewhere. Who knows? Maybe not. Probably not, if I can find it. Okay, so back to the bag. Thank you for tolerating that. Back to the bag. Okay, I got the pocket on, and the next step is to figure out the gussets. So we're going to fold this whole thing in half, because the shoulders here, they're going to be folded. So we're going to be doing this, but they also have to be stitched, so that way they'll stay put, like those plastic bags that I showed you. So in order to figure out where the halfway point is, we fold it in half, just like this. And we could have marked it earlier, but I forgot. So there. Okay. All right. Line everything up. And you can mark the centers however you want. How do I want? Let's see. Do I want to use a pin? Do I want to use an air erase marker? You know what? I'm going to use an actual pencil. No, that one's broken. I can't use that one. Let's see. I think I'll use this. Duh. All right. So you're going to, because this is air soluble, you're going to put a line in it. Let's see if it took. It did not, of course. You could take it back to the iron, but you know what? My SD card is full on that other camera, so I'm back here underneath my desk webcam camera. Yeah, I'm giving you some secrets here. All right, so finger press, finger press. Maybe it'll show. But there is another way of doing this, just temporarily until I can draw lines. And let's put a pin in it. Duh. Okay, there's one. And here's the other one. Yeah. Get closer to me. There we go. Alright. Now I'm going to open that up. Finger press that one. Maybe I can see the crease. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. Open it up. Yeah, I can sort of see the crease. Yeah, I can see the crease. Okay, I'm just going to put the pin in temporarily. And I can see the crease on that one. I can see it. I know you can't. Yeah, I can't see it on the camera. Okay, so what I'm going to do... Yeah, that's a little off. I'm going to take a straight edge, if I can find one. I had one earlier. There it is. I'm going to take a straight edge. And because this is an air-soluble marker... Right there, I have to work fast because it's going to disappear on me. Alright, so I put that line there. Not that it's going to help much, because it's on the inside. It's not going to show at all. I could use whatever I freaking well please. Oh, excuse me, I didn't say that. Alright, let me fold it in half. As if that's really going to make a difference. So, one way to fix that. Air soluble will make sense now. Okay. There. Then you're going to do the same thing on this side. Straight edge. You only really have to draw half of the line. Okay, take the pin out. fold it up, draw this line, and cap it, cap it, cap it. Now you can use pins or you can use those silly little clips, but what you're going to do at this point is you're going to fold these in so that these corners line up, just like in the picture. And what I recommend is before you continue on to actually stitching the sides, you go ahead and you stitch this center line while you can see it before it disappears. Alright, and you can also, you know, use clips if you have them handy, but mine aren't handy right now. So I'll use pins. It works for me. In fact, since it will actually wash out in the wash, I'm going to use this Crayola marker, washable marker. This will not go away on me until it gets washed, because that one's already starting to fade because I don't work fast enough. So remember that. Crayola washable markers, the ultra washable. Ultra clean washable, ultra lavable Crayola. They're fantastic. I bought like a box of 8. So I have, the only color I don't have is white, because I don't think they make white. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this around so that I can work close to me. Come here, pin. Alright. Do the same thing on this side. And bring that up. Okay. That will be permanent. No, it's not permanent. It's permanent long enough for me to actually stitch it and then throw it in the wash when I'm done. I think the green fabric's been pre-washed. I'm just not sure. This lady that I got them from, I don't know if she pre-washed her fabrics before putting them away. I never pre-wash my fabrics myself. Some of the fabric that I got from her family, smelled really bad and really do need to be cleaned before I actually use them. In fact, I should have just thrown them in the wash. Now I don't remember which ones they are, so when I come across them, I have a ticket on each piece of fabric that tells me where it came from, when I got it, how much yardage there is. Like this is one of them. Yeah, this one's for the apple fabric. There was 2 yards of this, and it's Cranston Printworks. Leslie Beck designed it, and I got this on June 19th, 2021. So, and then I put it in storage. But now I reorganized everything, and everything's sorted by color, so the location no longer is valid. But I documented everything on the computer, and that's why I know I ended up with about 1,000 yards from her. I had about 200 yards myself, and I have about 1,200 yards total from my friend. Okay, so I'm going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to stitch down the center here, and I'm going to mark this, and I promise you this marker will disappear in the wash. Absolutely will. I've been using these for like 2 or 3 years now. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to take this to the machine. It looks a little off. They're not lined up. What the heck did I do wrong? Alright. Let's see what's going on here. I want to make sure that they're stitched. Not that it really matters, but it just makes for a better bag. Yeah, they're way off. I don't understand how that happened. Okay, so let's measure. Let's measure. I'm a little tired, okay? So I've got about 11 inches, so that half of that's 5.5. So this line is pretty close. So let's fix this one. I don't know how that happened. You saw me do it. Go figure. But not that it really matters exactly where it is, but it does. It actually does matter. Okay. See, again, I got it off. It's off a little bit. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch between the lines. Okay, I will stitch between the lines. That'll work. Alright. And it doesn't matter which side I stitch them on, because it's the same color green on both sides. Okay, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch those up. Yeah, I'll stitch them up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and I have stitched them. I stitched between the lines. This line was way off, but I'm pretty confident I got this one correct. Because if I hang them up, they fall about right. Yeah, close enough. Basically, you wanted to stitch them just to keep them together. And snip, 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 snip threads. There we go. Okay. Alright. So the next step is you're going to stitch the sides. Let's go take a look. See how far we've gotten in the instructions. Alright, we did that, we did that. See, this is where we're at right now. We did this, and now we're here. We just finished that. We stitched our shoulders. The next step is to stitch the sides. So, the way I do that is I got to remove these pins. Okay, we're going to remove the pins and we're going to stitch the right sides together to turn it inside out. And you can use clips or pins, that's up to you. And I'm going to use pins. And I'm not going to bother gluing. And yes, I am actually going to do a quarter of an inch seam allowance. And the sides will be done. And then it's just a matter of doing the French seam when all is said and done. And I'll show you how to do that next. And you'll see why we're stitching this way on the outside. It's a little freaky, but it works. Alright, line that up. I could glue it, but I'm not going to bother. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pin the other side. Get this out of my way, put it over here. See, I didn't do that good of a job opening that up. I might have to adjust that. I'll probably redo that and then pin. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Of course, it had to be the side with the pocket in it, but I got this done, got it fixed. Alright, so go ahead and pin this side. Take me just another moment here. And like I asked before, if you do have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will answer them. I don't answer every single question. I don't respond to every single one because sometimes I don't get notified about questions and stuff. But hopefully, and I do have a contact us button on my website at jpfun.com. So if you have questions, please, by all means, let me know. This is what I actually do for a living. I don't have a day job. This is what I do. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm going to go stitch these 1/4 inch down on both sides, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I have stitched the sides, gave it a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the sides are done. I don't need to do any more stitching. And when the gussets are made, that stitching will help with the folds onto, going on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this inside out. And these corners, they're not going to get boxed, they're going to be gussets. Okay, and you want to let this upper shoulder here dictate how far in your gusset's going to be. And the one thing I didn't do with the orange one is iron it to lock them in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the iron, but like I said, my SD card is full and I don't want to take it down and empty it and all that stuff. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it to the iron, and I'm going to let this dictate how wide I make my gussets. I'm going to open this right up here, lay it down flat. I might even pin this in place just temporarily, or clip it right here, and then let this fold. Try to do it as straight as I possibly can, and I'm going to press it here. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this side as it shows in the picture. I'm going to let this thing dictate how wide it needs to be, and I'm going to let it just, go all the way down and press creases in it. Okay, so I'm going to go and do that, and then I'll show you what I've done. I'm going to do that to both sides, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I've got this ready. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to let these folds go in so that the seam here almost touches where that pocket is. So that way when you go to fold it to put it into the pocket, it'll work. It'll work. In fact, I think I have this over just a hair too far. So, but I think it'll still work. See, this is basically what I've done, is you got your gusset here. And the only reason why I put the clips on is so that it would stay in place while I sew it. So basically this is where the French seam comes in. It may be counterintuitive, to actually stitch here with the right side facing out, but this is how you do a French seam. You put one seam here, 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch in from the edge, and then you trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch. And then you turn the whole thing inside out, and you press it, and then you make another stitch, so that way you're sewing on the wrong side. And then you turn it back inside out and iron it again, and then you're done. So basically we have 2 seams left, and the bag will be finished. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the sewing machine and do my stitch. I'll show it to you before I do the turning inside out, and I'll turn it inside out on camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm done stitching, and let me see if I can show it to you a little bit more. Get closer here. Alright. Let's get a little closer, see if you can see my stitching. I'm pretty close to the end. Alright, you can barely see the stitching. It is there. You can see it right there. So I'm pretty close to the end. I don't think I'm going to actually bother with trimming it off. I think it'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and take the clips off. I'm going to turn it inside out. And I think I'm going to go ahead and clip these corners. Don't really have to. It'll work fine without it. No bother. Okay, turn it inside out. And when I'm done, you know, before I do the final stitching, it should fall out like that. Don't let it scare you. Okay, you're going to poke it out. It may look funky, but this is correct. It always scares me when I do this because I think to myself, did I do it right? Alright, so now we are at the stage where we can go ahead and do our final stitching. And I think I'm going to do it from where you can't even see where the pocket is, because it's on the outside, duh. Okay, so you're going to press this and you're going to let it dictate where it wants to be, sort of. Here's my pocket, and I can see the stitching. So line it up. So this should fall really close to where the pocket stitching is. And if it does, you're doing it right. And if you feel the need to, you can go ahead and clip it, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and do my final stitch about 3/8 of an inch away, so that way I'm catching that stitching that I did, and it'll be fine. Nobody will know that it's 3/8 of an inch in. So I'm going to do that final stitch and I will be right back. Okay, I am done with the stitching. I got 3/8 of an inch in. You can't even see it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back inside out. The bag is done. Okay, and now that we did that pressing, that makes the folding a little bit easier. Okay, so this bag is being added to my collection of bags because, you know, I want to be able to advertise and sell them locally. So I'm going to keep this one and let people know who see it, who ask about it, where I got it. I'll say, well, I make them. And hopefully they'll say, well, can I buy one? And I'm going to say, okay. I'm not sure how much I'm going to charge for them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fold this because it's done. And now it should really fit into that pocket really well. All right. That is that. That fits really, really well. In fact, it's a little big. But anyway, this is the bag. It's done. It folds into its own little pocket. Great for storing it if you want to take the time to fold it up and put it away. But here it is, all done. Can you imagine a whole bunch of these tucked in your car, you know, for travel. It doesn't take all that much space. And now I have 2 of these. Alright, and that's it. So I want to thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, like I said below, go ahead and leave your questions in the comments. I will read them. I will answer them, maybe in a video. We'll see. If I get too many questions, that's what I'll do, instead of typing them all up. And until, well, my next video will either be one of the blocks I talked about, or it might be a carry case that I have been working on. A zipper carry case. It's actually for sewing. I use mine for sewing English paper piecing hexagons, so upstairs on my couch next to my husband, you know. Anyway, so until next time, I want to thank you for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.